Cell vs. Destoroyah. This fight has been brought up, but nobody's really ever went in depth with it, so I'll go ahead and do that. Starting off with Cell, he's already in his first form, well beyond Star level, being stronger than final form Frieza. Strong by the time GT rolls around, he's easily Galaxy to real life Universal, not Dragon Ball Universal. There's a big difference. On top of all that, he can regenerate from a single cell of his body, can make Cell Juniors, has the skills of most of the Z fighters, as well as Frieza and King Cold. He also has Frieza's potential. He also has Namekian abilities, meaning he probably stretches his arms out, he just never does it, just because he doesn't need to. And with GT scaling, he could easily be real life Universal. I think I've already said that, but I'm going to say it again just to give you a clear gauge of how powerful this guy is at his peak. I'm not using Xenocell because that is just hard to scale. So a quick recap, real life universal level, busted regeneration, tons of skills and abilities, and some of the most insane just DNA ever. Now let's get to his opponent, Destoroyah. Destoroyah in the movie was, well, he's hard to scale actually because there's two separate things you need to think about. One, Godzilla's red spiral ray, and if it is infinite power or non-infinite power, because guidebooks say both. And two, where does he stack up in speed compared to the other Heisei era villains? My personal opinion, I do think Godzilla would add infinite power attacks at this point in the series. He gets multiple massive power boosts throughout the franchise. There's also characters that move infinite speed earlier, Space Godzilla being the big one. If you did argue that Godzilla does not have infinite power, which is a valid point, most other scaling puts him at large star to potentially solar system, and others even put him at universal level. So power, these two are looking pretty equal, with Destoroyah having a slight edge if you want to go crazy with the scaling. And if you want to do Xenocell, well, that equals him out. Oxygen is another big boost for Cell because it destroys oxygen atoms. Cell doesn't need oxygen, but his body does automatically take it in since he is part Saiyan and human, meaning it would be just as effective on him as a Saiyan or human. On top of that, the laser katana, which in the manga was strong enough to cut the moon in half pretty much effortlessly, and in the comics he is strong enough to basically one-shot Mothra, who can travel at infinite speed also and has some pretty insane attacks. And although the Destroyer may look dumb and is definitely not as smart as Cell, he is not completely stupid. He is a pretty decent strategist and is usually comparable to Godzilla in intelligence. And Godzilla is no idiot either. The dude's actually really, really smart if you watch all the movies. But how would a fight between these two actually go? Well, first off, Destroyah is consistently a lot faster and a lot stronger, with higher scaling, but Cell is consistently considered a stronger character due to Destroyah's power fluctuating massively through the variants. So ultimately, I think this comes down to if we're using composite or not. I am. If we're using composite, Destoroyah from Godzilla in Hell would be stronger in space. Godzilla can destroy an infinite dimension, which automatically puts both of them above Cell massively. On top of that, where Cell can destroy a real-life universe, Destoroyah is consistently considered above that in manga and the comics in particular, especially the comics, actually. With comics, Destoroyah being comparable to comics Godzilla, not Godzilla in Hell, but everything before that, and before that, Godzilla is comparable to, pretty much all the other kaiju in Godzilla in Hell, who are all infinite and arguably higher dimensional, something Cell just cannot compete with. The final nail in the coffin is that even if we were to go crazy with Dragon Ball scaling and say Cell's infinite speed due to infinite hell travel by Goku, which scale would be faster than naturally, Destoroyah has resisted an attack from Godzilla and Hell Godzilla, who can one-shot an infinite, arguably 5 to 60 god, and he also can just absorb Cell's DNA, gain all of Cell's abilities, and instantly multiply his power several times over, which would basically make the intelligence factor non-existent and would easily give him the win. Ultimately, Cell wins intelligence and, skill only. Destoroyah wins literally everything else and can actually take care of the skill and intelligence gap by just absorbing Cell's DNA, which he could easily do since he's arguably faster and could scale to 5 to 6D, probably 5D, but I'm not taking 6 off the table. Ultimately, Destoroyah wins pretty easily, but people are usually going to assume the other thing just because Destoroyah's higher feats are pretty much unknown. Now, do I think Cell has no shot at winning? Well, yeah, actually, if it's Composite Destoroyah. If we're only using movie Destoroyah, Z and GT Cell have a solid chance at winning with the Spirit Bomb. Manga and comic Cell, however, would defeat any version of Cell, besides arguably Cell Max. That's a debate I'm not going to get into today. Ultimately, Destoroyah wins. Cell puts up one hell of a fight, but he just cannot close the gap quick enough. If you disagree, please comment why.